think we can all agree that The Matrix is a classic. Not only did it revolutionize visual effects and bring Hong Kong martial arts to the mainstream,
I know Kung Fu.
but it also created one of the most realized worlds in science fiction. While the world of The Matrix is filled with imagination, it is also restricted by a plethora of rules. Now, if you look at any science fiction film, or horror film, or just a genre film in general, you will see that they are dictated by their rules, by motifs and limitations that drive the conflict of the narrative. The Matrix is nothing but rules, being a computer simulation of our world in the late 90s. While in other films the rules escalate the conflict, here the rules are the conflict, with the antagonist of the film being a sentient program. In order to destroy the Matrix and free its slaves, our heroes must first break its rules.
You believe that you are special, that somehow the rules do not apply to you. Obviously, you are mistaken.
Rules are at the center of the narrative. It's what holds our characters back, and it's what they're always fighting against. Perhaps the biggest rules characters face are narrative rules. For instance, Neo's discovery of becoming the One is a textbook example of the hero's journey, also known as the hero with 1,000 faces. Now, we've seen this template done several times. Even by the late 90s, this was as tired a formula could be. What makes it work and blend into the film's central thesis on breaking rules is that it questions the legitimacy of this arc at every chance it gets.
Morpheus was right. And there's no way I can pull this plug.
A character is only as strong as the antagonizing forces they face, and Neo fights a lot. Despite it all taking place in a computer, it's not all fun and games, as failure in the Matrix leads to very serious consequences. Death is prominent throughout the Matrix, as it's what all of its rules lead towards.
The body cannot live without the mind.
This is the most consistent rule in the Matrix, adding stakes for the film's show-stopping action sequences. This rule is also used to create major setbacks for the film's narrative.
No!
For instance, Cypher's betrayal, killing his friends in order to get back into the Matrix, occurs when he uses this rule against them.
Not like this. Not like this.
There's also rules in film language, so when a character says this,
Every single man or woman who has stood their ground, everyone who has fought an agent has died.
and then another character says this,
You see an agent, you do what we do. Run.
we all know that this has to happen.
Mr. Anderson.
Run, Neo, run.
Other narrative rules like repetition and foreshadowing are heavily used to create a sense of powerlessness, as though these characters are bound to a fate they've already experienced.
Deja vu.
Another narrative rule the film heavily relies on is the Rule of Three, wherein a motif is introduced,
I thought it wasn't real. Your mind makes it real.
then repeated for dramatic effect, and finally, given a narrative payoff. These rules aren't just about death in general, they revolve around the life or death of our protagonist. When Neo finally meets the Oracle, the program responsible for creating the prophecy of the One, she doesn't tell him that he is.
Sorry, kid.
Instead, she gives him another prophecy, the one that becomes the film's most important rule.
You're going to have to make a choice. In the one hand, you'll have Morpheus's life. And in the other hand, you'll have your own.
While the cool stunts and visual effects are impressive in their own right, what really makes the third act special is that the fate of Neo's life is always in the air.
Only humor.
When he arrives to save Morpheus, he does so knowing it's a suicide mission.
There is no spoon.
However, he manages to save everyone, including himself.
The Oracle. She told me
She told you exactly what you needed to hear. That's all.
All is fine and dandy until Neo is left behind by another agent. Defying all odds, he manages to win the fight and run away. Until Agent Smith seals his fate. This moment triggers the domino effect of all of the film's rules raining down on our protagonists. Morpheus has been saved, therefore Neo must die. Neo has been killed in the Matrix, therefore he must die. Tank can't fire the EMP when Neo is plugged in, or else Neo will die. All of these rules definitively point towards the fate of our character. But then a new rule is introduced, one that was hinted at before.
The Oracle told me that I would fall in love and that that man that I loved would be the one. Now get up.
It is through this rule that all the others are broken, like a computer program given contradictory inputs. With the rules crashed and the programs broken, Neo becomes the One.